Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, Can-Am Missing Project. And yes, I am at Hungry Horse Reservoir. And that is my favorite nest behind me, the osprey nest. Every year I come back here, show you guys a look. They're in there right now, and they've got babies, and every year they come back, and they are precious, very precious. So, and the lake is pretty high right now, and we've got a lot of winter runoff, but the dam is spilling very heavy, and we've got a lot of runoff still to go. So hopefully they'll be able to manage it just right. So again, Hungry Horse Reservoir behind me. It's in Hungry Horse, Montana. It goes 21 miles back into the backcountry. You are looking right now south, and the Flathead Valley is over a couple of mountains this way. And this area that you're seeing kind of behind me on that side of the reservoir, back on that other end, is an area that's very wild. Spotted bear wilderness, very wild. And a lot of bears, a lot of good activity. And there's a couple things I'm going to talk to you about today. We're not going to talk about missing people. And if you're thinking about that you're only here for missing people, then you need to go. This is related to missing people, absolutely, because everything here is. A couple things I want to talk to you about. It was just in the paper recently. I want to read you something. Glacier Park, just a skedaddle that way, very close. Search efforts are underway in Glacier National Park for Anthony Pollio, P-O-L-L-I-O, 33-year-old man from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who has been missing since Sunday evening, the Park Service said Tuesday. This is this last week. Pollio's vehicle was located at Lake McDonald Lodge. He had communicated plans to hike toward the Mount Brown fire lookout. The last known message was sent at 8:20 p.m. Sunday, May 3rd. The park was notified of the disappearance on Monday. So what they did is they started a search and rescue, but they weren't exactly sure where he was going because nobody told him the exact trail. They gave him kind of the parameters. Now, just so you know, McDonald Lake Lodge is a beautiful place, up the lake a bit. And the trail he was going to take could go to a lot of different directions. Goes into the wild. Update on May 7th. Remains of a hiker reported missing in Montana's Glacier National Park was found Wednesday, and a bear attack is suspected, the Park Service said Thursday. Search and rescue crews found the hiker around noon, Park Service statement said. His identity was not released. Well, they only said there was one person missing in the park, so I'm guessing it was him. Wildlife and law enforcement personnel are currently assessing the area for bear activity and any ongoing safety concerns. The investigation is ongoing. The body was found 2.5 miles up the Mount Brown Trail in a densely wooded area with downed timber, about 50 feet off trail. It's the first deadly bear attack in Glacier since '98, and the first attack by a bear in the park since August. Around 1,000 bears live in Glacier Park, including black bears and grizzlies. Glacier Park did not name the victim, and it was waiting 72 hours until the family was notified. On Wednesday, it said search efforts were underway. Then, the same week, the same crazy week, 2 hikers in Wyoming were left injured after a bear attack on a hiking trail in Yellowstone National Park. On Monday, May 4th, the hikers were traveling along the National Park's Mystic Falls Trail at Old Faithful Geyser, according to a news release by the National Park Service. The attack was described as a single event, but the incident remains under investigation. Park officials said 1 or more bears were involved, but did not specify which species. The area typically is home to grizzly bears and black bears. Park rangers didn't specify the extent of the injuries. Following the attack, the area near the Midway Geyser Basin was temporarily closed. This marks the first time a bear has injured a person in Yellowstone this season. Last time a bear was injured of a visitor was last September per NPS. Last September 29th, 29-year-old solo hiker was traveling on a Turbid Lake Trail in northwest of Mary Bay and Yellowstone Lake. Around 2.5 miles from the Pelican Valley trailhead, the man encountered a bear. He was able to deploy bear spray when the animal made contact. However, he has suffered serious non-life-threatening injuries to his chest, arm. Rangers said he was transported from the trailhead to a medical clinic and then airlifted to a hospital. Bears are no funny business this time of the year. They come out and they're hungry and they're cranky and they don't want to see anybody. They don't really like people. They try to stay away from people, grizzly bears. Now, let me talk to you a little bit about bear spray. Very important, folks. I only keep bear spray 1 year, and then I'll take it out and I'll practice with the one that's a year old and make sure I'm still pretty good at pointing and shooting. This is a little clip that goes on your belt. Carry the bear spray in here. You see a bear, take it off, pull it out, activate it, and away you go. Bear spray, there's two kinds. 2 different feet. I think it's 30 and 40 feet. I always get the lengthy one. If a bear ever charges you, you will never regret not having more bear spray and the ability to shoot it further. You'll never regret it. Now, bears, just because they retreat, does not mean that they're gone. A lot of time, bears will come around the back side of you and come in a different direction. This is a horn sound. Very loud. If I'm hiking on the trail with somebody, one person's carrying bear spray, one person's carrying this. And if a bear is near us, we'll deploy the bear spray to keep him away, and we'll deploy the horn to let him know that we're big and bad and stay away. Now, somebody sent me this. This is a bear spray belt. Now, I always wear a belt, so I don't need it, but kind of see how they're using it right here. So, during the springtime, bears are super hungry. There's not a lot out there for them to eat. They're mostly eating grass, and there's not a ton of it sometimes. That's why they come out of the high country where the snow is down to the lower elevations where there's grass. And a certain bear may see you as a food source, who knows? But beautiful sight out there. You can see the little bird in the nest. I love that sight. I could sit there all day and look at it. Now, we have a cruise coming up. I'm going to read to you some things that are going to lead up to some things related to the cruise and my work. I've told you before about Nexus magazine, the best magazine in the world. Duncan Rhodes is the editor of the magazine. He lives in Australia. Great guy. You can follow him on Facebook and on X. He had an article in here that says, most Americans believe in the soul. Now, do you believe you have a soul? Yeah? No? If you die, you just die? Or does your soul get reincarnated? Or does it move on to something else? There's a lot of people who say that aliens really are after our soul. Most Americans believe in the soul. The long-term decline in Christian affiliation in the United States appears to be leveling off, according to the Pew Research Center. The share of U.S. adults who identify as Christian has remained relatively stable in recent years, hovering at 63% in 2024. By contrast, the religiously unaffiliated, those who self-identify as atheists, agnostics, or nothing particular, followed the opposite trajectory. The group expanded between 2007 and 2022 before similarly stabilizing in recent years at 28%. Despite the increase in the number of people who reject organized religion, belief in something beyond human beings and the natural world remains widespread in the U.S. Large majorities of the U.S. adults report believing in a soul. 86%. That's a lot. A God or universal spirit. Something spiritual beyond the natural world. For many, 43% of the U.S. adults, spirituality has increased over the course of our lives. This is compared to just 11% who said they had become less spiritual. Pew found that Americans of all ages were more likely to say their spirituality has grown as they have aged. When Pew asked Americans the same question about how their religiousness has changed over their lifetime, respondents were more likely to say there have been no changes, 44%, while similar shares reported that it has increased. The stabilization mirrors a massive resurgence in Christianity, with recent data revealing Bible sales skyrocketing by 41% since 2022. Religion and spirituality app downloads exploded by 80%. The momentum is fueled by young people, especially Generation Z, showing heightened curiosity about Jesus and the Bible, per the American Bible Society. I'm leading you into something here, folks. Trust me. I posted this today on my X account. It's very something else. Here's the post. Representative Tim Burchett, when they told Jimmy Carter the truth about UFOs and aliens, he cried. Below is a text from former NASA Ames researcher Ed Harris, claimed a few years ago that Carter was told. Yes, the incident of Jimmy Carter crying after being briefed about classified information regarding UFOs is largely believed to be true by serious researchers on the subject. As a forewarning, the following information is very unsettling and will explain why Carter never kept his promise of revealing classified UFO information to the public. According to the story that was corroborated by more than one witness, U.S. presidents are only given a cursory overview of the subject. Apparently, the CIA runs the program, only provides information to the president on a need-to-know basis, and do not consider presidential curiosity as sufficient enough to know. This was implemented after Kennedy and other presidents after him have been given only summary briefings. Some presidents, for unknown reasons, were given more than others. So my question is, who's the boss? If the president's the boss, why aren't they telling him if he asks or she asks? On to your next question. President Carter is a deeply religious man who had also witnessed a UFO with 6 other people. Everyone thought that he would be the one to finally release UFO info to the public, but as goes the story, he was repeatedly stonewalled. Eventually, the CIA had the talk with him, and afterwards, it was reported that he sunk his head into his hands and not only began to sob deeply, but was visibly disturbed by some weeks afterwards. What was he told? What was he shown? Okay. Before I read this, I always wondered why our government would say, if you really knew the truth about UFOs, it would shatter the fabric of our society. And when I read this today, I thought, it kind of makes a little sense. He was told that the major religions, including Christianity, were programs created by extraterrestrials to prevent us from destroying ourselves while they ran their experiments on us, and that they made us. At this moment, it became clear to Carter that such information could cause tremendous economic and social upheaval. I should add that I am not only a Christian, but a clergyman, so I am in no way attempting to promote atheism here. In fact, how God fits into this might be an interesting separate post. Nonetheless, those are the facts as we know them to be. You know, I've talked to a couple of people since then about this. Everyone agrees that some people would be affected by that. Now, that leads right into what I'm going to talk to you next. This is a roadmap of sorts to how you're going to understand what I'm doing here. And I want you to know that I'm not trying to push a theory or an idea on anybody. In fact, I'm trying to educate you and give you a more open mind about a lot of things, and then you make up your own mind. So on the Bigfoot Missing 411 cruise, there's a man that's going to be on there at my invitation named Chris Bledsoe. That's Chris right there. And son of a gun, Duncan Rhodes this month wrote an article about Chris. No, I didn't ask him to. I didn't know he was going to, so this is pretty much a shock, but very timely. So if you're going on the cruise, here's a little background on Chris Bledsoe. If you're not going on the cruise, you need to know him. Some people told me, Dave, don't have anything to do with this guy. He's demonic. Okay, well, I'll let you know. Here's the article. In the realm of unidentified aerial phenomena and extraterrestrial encounters, few stories captivate the imagination quite like that of Chris Bledsoe. A former construction contractor from North Carolina, Bledsoe transformed from an ordinary family man battling chronic illness and financial ruin to one of the most studied UFO experiencers in modern history. His experience is detailed in his 2023 memoir, UFO of God. The extraordinary true story of Chris Bledsoe blends elements of science fiction, spirituality, and government intrigue. What began as a disbursement prayer by the Cape Fear River in 2007, excuse me, evolved into a lifelong series of interactions with otherworldly entities, miraculously healing, and prophecies about human nature. Bledsoe's narrative challenges conventional boundaries between the material and the metaphysical. He described encounters not with hostile aliens, but with benevolent angelic beings manifesting as glowing orbs and ethereal figures. These entities, he claims, have imparted profound knowledge, cured his ailments, and even allowed him to summon them at will. His story has drawn scrutiny and support from high-profile institutions, including the Vatican, NASA, CIA, and DIA. Researchers like John Alexander and Jim Semivan have documented his case, while media projects such as Beyond Skinwalker Ranch have featured experiments testing his abilities. So, there's a lot to Chris. At the heart of Bledsoe's experiences lie his predictions, particularly those centers on 2026. That's this year, folks. He foresees a cosmic event ushering in new knowledge for humanity, potentially tied to ancient alignments and spiritual awakenings. Question, you mean like President Trump releasing UFO documents? This article explores Bledsoe's UFO encounters, his spiritual transformation, and his prophetic insights, drawing on interviews, books, and documented evidence. Through his lens, we glimpse a universe where UFOs are not mere spacecraft, but portals to divine consciousness, a perspective that resonates in an era of increasing UAP disclosures. If you not have watched my American Sasquatch, Man, Myth, or Monster, it's on Amazon right now. You need to go watch it. Pause this, go watch the movie, come back to this. Bledsoe's journey underscores broader themes in ufology, the intersection of technology, spirituality, and human evolution. As governments worldwide acknowledge UAP as a legitimate phenomena, figures like Bledsoe offer personal testimonies that humanize the inexplicable. Whether viewed as a modern prophet or a misunderstood experiencer, his story invites us to question reality itself. Bledsoe's path to becoming a UFO icon was far from predestined. He was born and raised in North Carolina, led a conventional life as a husband, father, and business owner. He ran a successful construction company, providing for his family until 2007, when a financial crisis hit hard. Compounding his woes was debilitating diagnosis of Crohn's disease, a chronic inflammatory condition that left him in constant pain and facing mounting medical bills. By early 2007, Bledsoe was at his breaking point emotionally, physically, and financially devastated. On January 8, 2007, Bledsoe joined his teenage son Chris Jr. and 3 co-workers on a fishing trip along the Cape Fear River. The outing was meant as a brief escape from his troubles, but it became the catalyst for a profound transformation. Overwhelmed by despair, Bledsoe wandered away from the group to pray fervently for divine intervention. Quote, "God, if you're real, show me something," he pleaded, tears streaming down his face. According to Bledsoe, a massive UFO suddenly appeared, accompanied by brilliant orbs of light. He described 3 encounters, balls of light, each of 40 to 50 feet in diameter, hovering nearby. One approached him, enveloping him in a warm, otherworldly glow. Time seemed to distort, and what felt like moments to Bledsoe was actually 4 hours of missing time. And we have talked about this before. Do our hikers that disappear experience this missing time? When he returned to his companions, they were terrified, having witnessed something strange when he was gone. Lights, orbs. The encounter didn't end there. Bledsoe reported interacting with ethereal beings, including a radiant female figure he calls the Lady. She appeared as a 4.5-foot tall woman in a flowing white dress with glowing hair, emanating peace and wisdom. This entity, who Bledsoe associates with ancient deities like Hathor or even the Virgin Mary, communicated telepathically, offering comfort and healing. Miraculously, Bledsoe's Crohn's disease vanished overnight, a cure confirmed by medical tests. His son and co-workers corroborated parts of the event, describing glowing orbs and a sense of otherworldly presence. In the aftermath, Bledsoe's family faced ridicule from their community. Skeptics dismissed the story as a hallucination or a hoax, leading to isolation and depression. Chris Jr. struggled, particularly facing disbelief among his own sightings. Yet these challenges only deepened Bledsoe's conviction. He began experiencing recurring phenomena, orbs appearing on command, precognitive visions, and further interactions with the Lady. His childhood near-death experience, where he drowned and was revived, resurfaced in his mind as precursor to these events, suggesting a lifelong disposition to the paranormal. The initial encounter marked Bledsoe's entry into a world of high strangeness. It attracted attention from ufologists and government officials who saw, in this case, evidence of non-human intelligence. Experiments, such as those conducted on Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, tested his ability to summon orbs, tested his ability at yielding intriguing results from the orbs, and showed that the orbs embedded with codes and symbols. Bledsoe's story echoes historical accounts of angelic visitations, blending modern UFO lore with ancient mysticism. As word spread, Bledsoe corroborated with researchers like Yvonne Smith, who documented his abduction and healing. His experiences evolved from fear to reverence, reviewing UFOs as UFOs of God, vehicles for divine messages. Rather than invasion, this shift set the stage for ongoing encounter with the prophetic elements that would define his later narrative. Following the 2007 event, Bledsoe's life became a tapestry of recurring phenomena. Orbs, glowing plasma-like spheres became constant companions. His claims, the ability to summon them through meditation or prayer, often capturing them on video. These orbs aren't mere lights. Bledsoe describes them as intelligent entities responding to thoughts and sometimes displaying symbols, numbers, or codes resembling those in the Matrix. Witnesses, including family, friends, and researchers, have corroborated these sightings, elevating his cause beyond personal anecdote. One notable instance occurred during a trip with podcaster Ross Coulthart. I was on Ross's show a while ago, where Bledsoe filmed a green orb with apparent inscriptions. He interprets these as messages from higher realms, linking them to angelic or extraterrestrial intelligence. Such events have been replicated in controlled settings like Beyond Skinwalker Ranch, where experiments confirmed anomalous activity. Bledsoe's interactions extend to abductions and visions. He recounts being taken aboard a craft, experiencing time dilation, and receiving downloads of personal knowledge. The lady reappears frequently, guiding him toward spiritual growth. In one vision, she showed him future events, emphasizing humanity's choice between destruction and enlightenment. I think you guys know this, but when I was making the UFO encounter, which is kind of weird because it involved UFOs, I've said this 100 times, that we had a script somewhat written about what we wanted to do, but we didn't have the movie full. And time again, as we got closer to ending each segment and had nothing at the back end, something would suddenly appear in my mind and say, Dave, go do this, go do that. Just like they were saying here with Chris. It was just like a download. I can't explain it. I don't know how I come up with it. Government interest peaked in early 2012. CIA officials approached Bledsoe after orbs appeared during a family gathering. He claims consultations with NASA on plasmoid orbs harassing astronauts, describing a 100-foot angelic being in space. The DIA and Vatican representatives have allegedly studied him, viewing his experience as bridging science and faith. Controversies arrive from these claims. Skeptics argue orbs could be drones or satellites, but Bledsoe counters with witnesses and data. His son Ryan hosts a podcast, and Bledsoe's narrative ties UFOs to consciousness, calling it a new age word for God and suggesting we live in a simulation. Where have you heard that before? The holistic view has made him a figurehead in spiritual ufology. Consciousness. I've said this before, the more I learn about consciousness, we're all intertwined. Now, this isn't something I made up. This is something that's been told to me by some of the smartest people in the world, and things I've read in books that they've pointed me to. Consciousness is king. Central to Bledsoe's message are his predictions derived from communications from the lady. In 2012, she warned of conflicts between Israel and Iran, drone sightings as tests, and a shift in the powers of the heavens. Bledsoe interprets recent events like UAP disclosures as fulfillments. The cornerstone in his 2026 prophecy, Easter 2026, an alignment occurred. The star Regulus rises in the Sphinx gaze of Giza. This event, Bledsoe says, will bring new knowledge to humanity, a new paradigm shift into the age of Aquarius, revealing God's reality and consciousness and its true nature. He speculates it could herald Christ's return or heavenly hosts integrating with humanity. Warnings abound. Powerful figures are scripting the book of Revelation to engineer Armageddon. Bledsoe urges love and peace, echoing biblical mandates. See, he doesn't speak outside the Bible. Other visions include earthquakes and celestial changes, with 2026 as a turning point. So think about this right now. President Trump is doing what no other president ever could do, ever would do, and that's release all the UFO information. That's huge. It just happened to be 2026. And right now, we're in a big conflict with Iran. Is that part of what Bledsoe's talking about in 2026? He talked about this years ago, by the way. It wasn't recent. Other celestial visions include earthquakes, with 2026 as a turning point, shared with the Pentagon and NASA officials over a decade ago. These predictions gained traction amid global tensions. So again, he said this 10 years ago, that this year would be it. Bledsoe's claims invite skepticism. Hoax accusations persist. Yet validations from credible sources bolster his credibility. Government studies and media features lend weight, though debates rage on social media. His story inspires promoting unity and spiritual awakening in these times of growing uncertainty. I did a video on Chris quite a long time ago, and it's about his missing time while he was on a river fishing and he stepped away from his family and friends. And it reminded me explicitly about what's happened with missing 411 people. And many of those have had UFO-related activity before, after, or during their events. So, to completely discount Chris, I think would be stupidity. Again, what happened to him on Cape Fear River mimics much of what's happened in missing 411 profiles. Now, he's going to be on the ship, and the head of the cruise already told me that on one of those events, he's going to go out and summon these orbs up. Oh, and I'm going to be there. Oh, yeah, I'm going to be there for sure. And I've had communications with him. He's a super nice person, humble, answered all my questions I had, very cooperative. I have nothing bad to say about the guy. And I asked him if he would watch the UFO Connection. He said, "Oh, Dave, I've watched it. It was really good." And I said, "Oh, then we'll have a lot to talk about." And he goes, "Oh, no, we have a lot to talk about." So he's well informed, which some people that are claimed to be like Chris really aren't open to other issues or other peripheral things. They just stay on their own track and want everyone to believe it. I haven't seen that yet by Chris. So I'm hoping that we'll have a fun cruise. We'll have a lot of interactions. He'll host some dinners if you want to go to dinner with him. And I think you'll have fun. So if you want to go on the cruise, go to Gather Up. Gather Up is one word, GATHERUP. Gather Up space events on Amazon or on the internet. Google it, you'll find it. And once you scroll down, you'll see the cruise. The Missing 411 and the Bigfoot cruises on one cruise ship this year. It will be huge. And yes, you can go to all the presentations on both sides. You won't miss anything. And I can already know, because Joe Hauser and I have talked, his presentation is going to knock your socks off. And I've been working on my presentation for that ship about Missing 411 Alaska. I've been doing a lot of research on Alaska lately, and what I found is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yes. Yes. And you can see me at Gatlinburg this year in Ocala. If you go to Gather Up events, look at the dates for those two events that are on there. I will be there. I hope I see you guys at one of these events. It's always fun meeting people and talking to them. In the meantime, be kind. Kindness is king. Really, our world works only because of kindness. You can't play on a sports team unless you're kind and you get along with people. Same in business. I appreciate you very much. Paulides out.